You probably think you can't afford a house because you didn't save enough or work hard enough. But over the past 5 years, home prices have risen far faster than wages. The median home price climbed 54% to approximately $405,000 to $436,000, while typical wages increased only 29%. Households earning $75,000, including teachers, nurses, and trades workers, can only afford 21% of listings today, down from 49% before the pandemic. The math didn't break because people got lazy. The system changed the rules while you were playing by the old ones. There was actually a time when the math worked. In the 1960s, the price-to-income ratio was 2, which meant that purchasing a house required 2 years of household income. If you made $50,000, a house cost $100,000. If you made $75,000, you could afford a $150,000 home. The American dream wasn't just marketing, it was basic arithmetic. Even by the 1970s, you could still make it work. But then something shifted. Home values started to outscale household income in the 1980s, with a price-to-income ratio of 3.7 by 1990. The math was getting harder, but it was still doable for most working families. The real break happened after that. In 1985, the median U.S. home cost $82,800, while the median household earned $23,620 annually, a ratio of roughly 3.5 times income. Fast forward 40 years. As of 2025, the median American home costs approximately $420,000, about 5 times the median annual household income of $83,730. We went from needing 2 years of income to buy a house to needing 5 years. But it gets worse, because that's just the purchase price. When you factor in the actual affordability mechanics, the picture becomes even grimmer. Family household incomes in 1965 were equivalent to 34.8% of the total cost of a new home, while in 2025, it's equivalent to just 26.4% of a new home. Your paycheck didn't shrink relative to the economy. It shrank relative to the one thing you're trying to buy. While home prices were climbing out of reach, rent was supposed to be the affordable alternative. Instead, it became the mechanism that made saving impossible. Rent increases systematically outpace wage growth. Nominal wages increased by 3.5% while inflation stood at 3.3% from March 2025 to March 2026, meaning workers gained a modest 0.2% in real purchasing power. But rent increases tell a different story. Across markets, annual increases of 3 to 5% are considered reasonable, with many regions seeing much higher spikes. Los Angeles imposed a 3% allowable increase from July 2025 to June 2027, while Oregon allowed 10.0% the year prior. The arithmetic is relentless. If your rent goes up 5% annually, but your wages only grow 3.5%, you're losing ground every single year. This isn't happening to people who are financially irresponsible. It's happening to teachers, nurses, and skilled workers doing everything they were told would lead to stability. The mechanism is a closed loop. Higher rent means less money available to save for a down payment. Less savings means you stay trapped in the rental market longer. And the longer you're trapped, the more home prices pull away from your reach. You're not competing against the housing market anymore, you're competing against your own rent payment for every dollar you might put toward your future. If you're stuck paying 4.8% higher rent this year while your wages barely moved, are you just bad with money or is the system rigged? Drop your answer in the comments below, but here's where the trap gets even tighter. Because investors figured out they could turn your desperation into their profit machine. Investors, those buying non-primary residences, bought nearly 27% of all homes sold in the first quarter of 2025. When you're trying to buy a house to live in, you're not just competing against other families anymore. You're competing against people who don't need the house at all. Cash purchases reached a record share of the market. In 2025, 30% of homes in Texas were bought entirely with cash, more than double the 14% recorded in 2017. These aren't just wealthy individuals liquidating stock portfolios. The private equity firm Blackstone more or less invented this buy-to-rent strategy in 2012 under the moniker Invitation Homes. It's now a public company valued at more than $18 billion. Cash deals typically close faster than deals in which the buyer takes out a loan. When you're financing a home, you need 30 to 45 days for underwriting, appraisals, and loan approval. Cash buyers can close in 2 weeks. In a market where sellers are choosing between multiple offers, speed wins. Sellers aren't choosing based on who needs the home most. They're choosing based on who can close fastest and most reliably. But the real advantage isn't speed, it's scale and indifference. A private equity firm's goal is to double or triple the value of the investment within 3 to 7 years. You're trying to buy shelter for your family? They're trying to hit return targets for their investors. They can afford to overpay because they're playing a completely different game. One where the house is just a line item in a portfolio, not the place where your kids will grow up. The result is systematic displacement. Institutional investors outbid aspiring homeowners, making it more expensive to buy a home and pocketing the appreciation in home values. The very mechanism that was supposed to build middle-class wealth, homeownership, is now being harvested by institutional capital that can outspend, outbid, and outlast any family trying to buy their first home. While investors were capturing the market and rent was stealing your savings, the fundamental machinery of housing production was breaking down. The 30-year fixed-rate mortgage averaged 6.37% as of May 7, 2026, compared to 6.76% in May 2025. Even with rates slightly improving, Fannie Mae and the Mortgage Bankers Association forecast that the average 30-year fixed mortgage rate will hover between 5.7% and 6.3% through the end of 2026. This isn't just expensive borrowing, it's the new normal. Mortgages that briefly dipped below 3% during the pandemic now sit between 5% and 6.5%. A structural shift that prices out millions of qualified buyers. Meanwhile, builders stopped making the homes people actually need. The industry optimized for efficiency at scale. Massive apartment complexes and sprawling subdivisions of large homes. Not the smaller affordable starter homes that first-time buyers could actually afford. Zoning laws made this worse by design. The average census block group imposes a minimum lot size threshold of 18,000 square feet, and doubling the minimum lot size increases home sales prices by 14% and rents by 9%. Cities literally wrote laws requiring expensive housing, then acted surprised when housing became unaffordable. 70% of residential areas in major cities restrict or ban apartments entirely. You're not competing in a free market. You're trying to buy into a system designed to keep supply artificially scarce and prices artificially high. But that's not the full picture. The final piece of this rigged game isn't just that the system changed the rules, it's that the system was deliberately restructured to benefit everyone except the people who actually need homes. The national home price to income ratio now sits at 5.08, nearly double the 2.6 ratio financial experts recommend as the maximum for housing to be considered affordable. Even Pittsburgh, the most affordable major metro with a ratio of 3.07, still exceeds that recommended threshold. This isn't market forces finding equilibrium. This is a system operating exactly as it was redesigned to work. The American dream didn't disappear because people stopped working hard. It disappeared because working hard stopped being enough. When the median homebuyer age has risen to 40, up from 29 in the 1980s, we're not looking at a generation that's lazy or financially irresponsible. We're looking at people who need 11 extra years to accumulate what previous generations could manage in their 20s. The beneficiaries of this system are clear. Banks profit from higher mortgage amounts and longer loan terms. Investors harvest appreciation on assets they can afford to overpay for. Existing homeowners see their property values climb. Landlords charge higher rents because their tenants have nowhere else to go. Every participant in the housing ecosystem benefits except the one group the system was supposedly designed to serve: People trying to buy their first home. It's not that people stopped saving enough or working hard enough. It's that if household income had grown at the same rate as home prices since 1980, the typical American household would earn $115,225 today instead of $83,730, a gap of $31,495. The math didn't break because you made bad choices. The math was broken by design, and you're paying the cost of a game that was rigged before you even started playing. Subscribe for more economic reality checks. Next video: How the American Dream Became a Rigged Financial Game.